Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay. Should we start the webinar as it's already 5? This is Mihika. I am from Next Education, and today's topic is competency-based education and how are we moving ahead taking competency-based education in our education system. I'll just present my screen. Give me a sec. This must be visible to you now, everybody. We'll see what competency-based learning really means in education. That is our first agenda, to know how are we going ahead, what is this model, and what is exactly the thing competency-based education, so that everybody and each out who's in this meeting today can exactly understand from the basic and scratch what do we actually mean by when we are delivering a competency-based education learning lesson. As the name reflects, it works on the principle of competency, which means developing and focusing on core abilities of the individual. Its agenda is that it focuses on the students and make the students competent enough or able enough for a specific role to be done. For example, we'll take an example that you teach in a class, but moreover, we take lessons in our class, but do not talk about any abilities, but do not talk about the core skills and abilities that has to be there into the class of an individual. So a basic agenda that is coming from competency-based education is that when we are a mentor in a school, when we are educator in a school, our motive should be on the abilities of the student, on the skills of the students, and on the thing that we are making a core student competent enough for a specific set of skills. If we mean competency-based education, that clearly means that we are making an individual competent enough for being an individual in future education, for being an individual in skill labor, from being an individual for any skill habit that we occupy and that we mold up to an individual for becoming the part of education in future generation. Is there any glitch? Am I visible to you? Like the screen is visible? Can you give me a thumbs up? Yes, fine. So it basically focuses that we make a student able enough for a specific role to be done or skill to be established in a student. As you can see a photograph here attached, we are comparing the earlier education to the competency-based education now. If we are teaching a skill habit in an earlier education set of education, then teacher finishes the syllabus, students write the exam, everyone moves on to the next class, whether they understand it or not. Can you please mute your... Hello, ma'am. Can you please mute yourself? Okay, fine. So as you can see a photograph here, earlier what happening that teacher is teaching in a class, a specific course is getting done, and then teacher is moving ahead of that course. Now you're not able to understand whether the student understood it, other concepts analyzed, other courses implemented, other lessons learned. That was the older way. But if we compare it to competency-based education, we take a moment, we have a slower process of moving on. We take a pause and let us understand whether our child is able to do what we want. If we compare it to the older way, as you can see here, our lessons were on memorization. As you can see here, a student is memorizing a recipe, writing exam for recipe and scoring 10 out of 10. But if we compare that to competency-based education, we are exactly making the recipe and understanding whether that recipe is tasting good or not. So the classes that used to happen in earlier times were for a period of time and not for a period of skill. That is to understand. And that's what how creating a difference in earlier education and competency-based education, what we are discussing today. So to focus on real skills, to focus on the skill sets, to focus on how it actually turns out, the skill you are giving, the lesson you are giving, the courses you are giving, the syllabus you are distributing, how it turns out in real life. Are the students understanding it on the context of real life as well? Are the students doing activity-based learning as well with the courses those are happening in our classes? So that has to be an ensuring part of our classes, and that's why I have chosen the concept and topic here, competency-based education, because I thought it is important enough to have these kind of discussions with educators on this topic. We'll move ahead. So if we talk about the future of learning and adapting to a competency-based model, why are we doing that? Because it creates a flexible, evidence-driven education system for tomorrow. What do we mean by flexible? Is that they give space for the learner, space for the educator, and space for the management to learn what is exactly happening. If there is a school, if there is an institution, we do not evidently know. If I am a management from there, I do not evidently know what my teacher is doing there. If I am a parent and my child is studying in that school, I do not evidently know what is happening, which course is running on. So it gives a very flexible, evidence-driven education system for tomorrow that we can rely on. And that's why we are calling it that it is a future of learning. And that's why we are discussing it as a very main component of today's evening. Why the future of learning must change. So we have talked upon what is competency-based education, what it offers, like flexibility, it offers evidence-based assessments. Now, we should be changing, definitely. But why? The models we are following in our schools, the lessons we are giving, the core model that we are coming ahead with from our education system is relying on a traditional means. I accept that, we accept that. We all know that we are still on traditional based education driven systems. But if I ask you, if I talk about the traditional ways, then teacher is forced or told to complete a specific syllabus, which was divided onto the periods. 2 periods happened and then chapter was ought to be completed. But that doesn't say that every learner of my class is exactly understanding those lessons in those 2 periods. So the time or the traditional time we are talking about relies on the seat time or one-time testing that no longer align with today's fast-paced world. That means if I am with 30 children in my class, then 15 children are able to understand with the pace I'm working on, with the hours I'm giving and with the periods I'm giving. But it doesn't match with everybody's pace or every individual sitting in my class. So the models we are talking upon, the traditional ways talk upon seat time and talk upon working on the same pace to every individual. So those are the ones that we call outdated models of yesterday. But there is a need for mastery in today's education. What is the word mastery? How we are introducing mastery, and how are we coming with this specific outline mastery? That education must prioritize on demonstrated skills. If your student is passing out to 12th standard, if your student is passing out to 6th, 7th standard, then student must have the remembering of the lessons, but must not be having the skills. But what is important in today's generation is those skills, is the mastery. So there is a need for mastery in education system, and that is driven from competency-based education. Lifelong adaptability. When we are understanding competency-based education and competency-based model, we are talking upon that every individual will be given a skill set, will be given utmost time that student must be working on for continuous learning. But when we talk about adaptability and learning and retention of courses and actually memorization of concepts that is being delivered to class, we talk about how the child adapts it. When we distribute the knowledge in practical way, when we distribute the knowledge in activity based learning, we underrate the fact that learners harvest adaptability and continuous learning with the change. If they are exactly made aware of how the things work in real life, they'll be understanding how real life works. They'll be understanding where the concept is actually used in real life. So that develops adaptability and learnability and longer way of retention of concepts in real life. So that is what education's agenda is. But in today's generation, we have forgot that actually the core agenda is making the student capable enough, making the student competent enough. But we are on to our older syllabus, and we are on to the completion of our courses. So let's move on. Yeah. So the time we were spending and the mastery demonstrated. To the time
One simple example I want to add here, Mika.
we
So like as she was telling, Mika was telling regarding this syllabus and everything, just one small example which we can add it here. For example, we are teaching in the class for the students with respect to the complete design of the car. How does the engine work? How that fuel is transformed to the power? How the brake system works? How the steering works? How the clutch works? Gearbox works? All these one-on-one components we can give it. But after completing the complete working mechanism, explaining it to the students, and again after doing a written exam of that, whatever in terms of a test or an evaluation, can we give the car keys to the student to drive? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we give? Yes, all the participants. Can we give? Can we give the car keys to the student to drive? No response from anyone from the chat box. I couldn't see any of the responses. Yes, yes, yes. Can we give? I have just explained only the mechanism. I didn't even teach him how to even drive it, what to start and what to end with. Yes, Kavita, you're right. Yes, Shweta, Ashwini, you're right. Yes, we cannot. We will not be like I'm saying, like, yeah, true, true, true. Everyone do agree. Right. This is what's happening in our curriculum. We are teaching so much, but when it comes to experiential learning or they need to do a trial and error, that is not happening. So that is where the education system or the curriculum is changing with respect to the way the occasional skills have been added in grade 6, 7th and 8th called as Kaushal Bodh, and then 9th and 10th as Kaushal Vikas, where they are giving more of skills related to, it's like life forms, and then with respect to machines, and the third one is with respect to human services. Okay, so this is where the projects are also being catered to all these three skills. And the reason is, you all know, education is not guaranteeing employment. What guarantees the employment is the skill set. So knowledge is not enough. Knowledge coupled with or amalgamated with skills is what is going to guarantee the employment. Okay, so this is the main agenda of taking the session on competency based learning or competency based education, which is coupled with learning objectives or what we call curricular goals and competencies. And this should be met with the resources, the teaching resources, or the skills, or the hands-on activities, or doing as I said, environmental projects. So here also projects also, if you see, each project is being dedicated for 30 hours or it is 55 periods, so that each project would not be like completed in a week or one or two classes. 30 hours or 55 periods is dedicated for it, which means they would be taking maybe complete term one to complete, because in a week you can accommodate only 2 to 3 classes for this skill set, not beyond that. And again, together if you see, 165 periods for 3 projects is what is being assigned for 6th, 7th and 8th, each grade I'm saying. So in that, again, they have given two projects for each one. For life forms, you can see 2 projects being dedicated. For second one is what we call machines, 2 projects were given, and for the third one is that human services, 2 more projects. So out of 6, the student need to select, or the teacher need to select one from each, so 3 projects together. But again, for example, you are reluctant in terms of selecting those projects, you want to go with your own projects, so there is a choice where you can, but again, you need to follow the annexure and the guidelines given by the NCERT. For example, there is something called bandhani, but you're not interested in doing it because tie and dye method is not famous in yours, but there is something other called kalamkari. You want to go with this, you can go ahead. This is one. Or something else, like for example, in your area tie and dye is not even there, because you need to call an expert and give an introduction part, and then again obviously you need to one round of I mean to say experiential learning is where you need to step into the shoes of that and then do the complete dye making, and then even doing that process of tying and dyeing and all this thing, and you need to get that ultimate product. So this is where the student, every student is getting some of the other skill set, followed by he can become an entrepreneur once he passed out from the grade 10th. That is what actually the skills are aiming at. Okay, I hope it is clear. And any other queries that you want on this, you can post it in the chat box, so we are there to help you. Right, yeah, Mika, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll continue. As ma'am has explained, it's very important to give the steering wheel to actually a person to understand how to drive the car. So it's not necessarily okay for every individual to learn how to drive a class, how to drive the car without even having a steering in hand. So yeah, it was a very good example, and we'll come ahead with this. So we are comparing from the time spent in class and the mastery demonstrated. We are taking this transaction with the help of competency-based education, that we must wonder sometimes that there is so much of hours that you give to some specific set of individuals in the class, and actually there is no impact in the students. They are not able to get it. What's the reason? Because we are not able to gather them to actually practical-based knowledge and the skill sets. So that is the transaction that we are taking with the help of competency-based education to mastery demonstrated, where more learning is there and greater impact can be seen with the help of these kinds of models. So the time spent that was spent to a class gives us the measure in hours attended and task completed. But the mastery that is demonstrated is advancement, and based on the demonstrated understanding and skills, showing visible mastery as a key benchmark. As competency-based education says that we are only heading towards the next chapter, towards the next topic, as we see a very visible mastery change in the individual. When we are definitely focusing on the skills of the student for the specific chapter, then the mastery can be achieved more earlier than to the traditional times that we are giving. So this is what the focus of competency-based education. Why learners need a competency-based future? Because there is more flexibility, clear expectations, and real-life relevance. By more flexibility, we mean that learners can progress at their own pace, understanding and taking their own times, and from a different pace of individual, from the different background the individual is coming from, they can understand, they can relate, they can have their own time, and they can analyze the concepts, they can analyze the lessons with the help of skill sets and with the help of real life examples that demonstrates in competency-based model. It allows them to balance education with other affairs and responsibility. So I must wonder sometimes that when we talk about the traditional methods of learning, we focuses on so much of memorization. We focuses on learning so much. We focuses on a deep down memorization and rote memorization of the concepts, which can deep down create a force of learning to an individual, and not into looking to other affairs and responsibility and other kind of creativity, which definitely burns our individual from inside and tells that it is very important to exactly learn this answer, but that is not what education agenda relies on. So flexibility gives student able to understand that these are the skill sets that teacher is working on me, and student analyzes that these are the only things that I am ought to focus on, which gives also the right to individual to focus on the outer world, to have the creativity, to have understanding of their own. As we are coming ahead, we are India is so much coming with startup and setup kind of a phase. So student will be able to develop what is actually the real life example, how I can take this specific concept to ahead and set up or have backend setup for this smaller thing. And there are clear expectations. Competency-based education defines specific skills and knowledge students must demonstrate, reducing uncertainty in the class, reducing the chaos in the class, and having a clarity for as well as the teacher and as well as for the student. So it delivers very clear expectations. Then comes real life relevance. This approach connects learning to practical applications. As I have said, as ma'am told, that giving steering to actually the student and able to understand how the car works is very important, other than giving him the recipe for something and then having memorization of the same. Helping students see the value and build confidence with the same thing. The skills that matter most. Then we talk upon some skills that competency-based education focuses on. These include some skills such as critical thinking, such as communication, such as collaboration. What these skills focuses on, let's see, and how they are important onto a life of an individual, a life of a student, we'll see. Critical thinking, because it analyzes information logically to make reasoned decisions and solve problems effectively. It's very important in a student to be able to know what is happening around the world, to be able to logically think, to be able to solve problems. And we give case study based questions for this concern, for critical thinking, that specifically highlights this skill set, so that critical thinking must be met in that student respectively. So there are the case study based questions that we give, and let the student analyze what is happening in that specific scenario, and let the student answer what can be the best solution he can demonstrate from that question. This is how we work on the critical thinking skills of the student, by giving the case study questions in the classes and lessons. Then communication, as we all must wonder throughout the lives as well, that expressing your ideas, having a clear demonstration to be able to make understand to the other individually what you mean is very important in our 21st century. So we also work on communication skills on a student by giving them some conversational questions, by giving them the topics to wander around and then express your ideas on the scene. This is how we work on the communication skills in the individual. Then collaboration. We must think that if we are moving ahead in this generation, we work together, we collaborate together for some specific sets. What do I mean by this is that here in this evening, we are sitting discussing why competency-based education is important. So this kind of collaboration and collaboration to meet common goals and achievements is also responsible for the individual to come ahead in life and develop the core habits of being successful. So how are we meeting this level? That there are the projects, there are the activity-based kits that we give, and let the students to come together to make it. One student will be doing one set of skill in that, the other student will be explaining the model. So this is how they'll be coming together for some common activity, and they'll be learning that every skill set is being divided into every individual demonstrating the same model. So this is how we let them come together and present some same thing in front of the class, for making them understand what collaboration and what coming together and working actually means. So this is how collaboration is met in this model. Then comes to digital fluency. This uses some digital tools to access, evaluate, and create information. If I mean this, I mean that I don't mean that we are becoming literate enough for digitalization, but I mean that it is necessary for being fluent in this era in digitalization. I know that everybody know that digitalization is important, but it's very still the rare part of education system who has still focused on digitalization. But why it is important, how it is important, we have never put our brains into that. If you regulate digitalization in your classes, if you see a book in front of a student, why can't that book be opened in front of student onto the panel? That brings clarity, that brings easy understanding, that brings clearer lessons. So competently using digital tools to access content, to evaluate the student, and to create information is what we are calling digital fluency, and is what we are calling the use of digital fluency into the model of competency-based education. So I feel that we must understand that it's very important for us to become fluent other than becoming literate in the same. So yes, let's move on to the next, problem solving, identifying challenges and developing practical solutions to overcome them. As I have said that there are case study questions, there are the questions that exactly says what can be done in this exact situation. So those difficult and problem solving and case study questions kind of questions are added to the syllabus of students for making them understand to the scenario and then answer the same. That can develop practical solutions and can develop the understanding in student to overcome the challenges that comes ahead into the life of student. And then we take self management. As we all know, it's very important for us to understand that what is important at what period of time to us, and regulating one's times and goals and actions independently can make us come to a successful point for being able to understand that what is to be done at what point of life is very important, and self-managing individual's life is very important to understand. Let's move on. So how this model is actually changing the role of its student as active participant. Why am I saying this? When student knows, let's understand that right now, if we imagine that 10 number of chefs are in front of me, and they all know that there will be an exact judge sitting over in front of those 10 number of chefs and evaluating on a continuous basis of period, then there is an active participant settlement that comes from a chef, that somebody is sitting on to judge me, somebody is actively there to evaluate me all of the time. Then chefs will be more putting their more brain into the making of the recipe. This is how similarly this model works. Competency based learning empowers students to take ownership of their progress through reflection and goal setting. They revisit material as needed until mastery is achieved, fostering personal learning journey. When we are saying this, then student takes their own ownership of understanding to things, to progress, to reflect, to have their goals. And as teacher always works in collaboration of giving them the feedbacks, how is their feedbacks working on. So this makes us achieve to a very master point that our education focuses on, to making a student master ready for the concepts, but not memorized ready for the concepts. So this is how competency based learning empowers students to take the ownership of themselves and become active participant in the lesson plans that's going on in the classes. Now, what's the role of teacher in this model? I can explain this with the help of a few examples, that if somebody would be there to continuously give you the feedback how it is working, then teacher too becomes understandable enough of what's going on in the class. Somewhere I understand that a few of the teachers are that okay, lessons are going on, but not very active and very effective over okay, this is going on. So I feel this also stops a growing period of a teacher. So teacher as guide and coach, teacher transition from delivering content to actually designing model, to providing ongoing feedback, and to support each student's growth and mastery is what competency based education focuses on. Learning objectives must be clear and transparent. As if we talk upon competency based education, we must know that it delivers very clear and crisp learning objectives, as if this is the chapter, this is the learning objective, and this has to be done in the class. It is very clear and transparent for student to understand, for teacher to understand what is being delivered, and for the management as well, for what lessons has to be delivered in the class. So competency-based system work best when learners understand exactly what objectives looks alike. Like I always tell teachers in the class to start their classes with agenda of what we are doing today. From agenda, we can say that what we will be learning today, and that is what we call learning objectives. Competency-based education clearly says what teacher has to do in a class, what student will be understanding in a class, and what will be the part of today's lesson in the class. That gives a very clear and transparent understanding to know that how can we move ahead and what will be the agenda of today's class, which gives clarity, which gives understanding, that gives a crisper way of what is happening in the class. Now comes to assessment, how competency-based education is supporting in the part of assessment as well. When we are talking of assessments, we all know that what kind of assessments are we coming ahead with traditional basis of education. And competency-based education focuses on assessments like HOAs, assessments like experiential learning, assessments like activity-based learning, assessments like projects. So I feel if we are collaborating to the idea of traditional learning habits and traditional assessments, we must coordinate to the idea that actually implementing and able to know that student is understanding is the real assessment, right? So proof of mastery is gathered through tasks like presentations and projects that show applied skills. Diverse formats like it includes writing, presentations, applied tasks like HOA. HOA is hands-on activities, and experiential learning to measure comprehensive understanding. So it focuses on writing as well as to understand how the things work in diverse formats. As if there is a concept of volcano and there is a concept of, I say, an example of magnetic lines. So we have exactly an activity named magnetic lines in that, where teacher actually delivers the content, how magnetic line works. So there is a very diverse format of assessments that is a part of how competency education works. Then it comes forward as very evident learning. Assessments focuses on what learners can do in real world context rather than just recalling the facts and rather than just knowing what their book says. So we can call that competency-based education focuses on real assessments, diverse format, and evident learning that we are working on a student, rather than just memorizing the concepts that is delivered by the teacher. When I talk about the agenda of competency-based education, the agenda follows some key core habits that we work on an individual. That is knowledge, that is skills, and that is attitudes. Competency-based model focuses on knowledge so that still knowledge could be delivered to the student. That brings correct and core connect to the understanding of the concept. With that, with the knowledge that we are delivering, with that, we are also expecting that there will be the skill sets that we will work on an individual, which will bring the individual that we desire, which will bring the exact learning that we are wanting to make a student do. And the attitude in which student is designed for communication, for behavior, for leadership, which are, if you all know, these are the 21st century skills. Competency-based education clearly focuses on 21st century skills rather than focusing on the memorization, or rather than focusing on student-based, teacher-based learning, rather than focusing on time-based habits, rather than focusing on moving ahead with the chapters. It works on three basic principles, which is knowledge, which is skills, which is attitude. Knowledge from very core concept, the content we deliver. Skills, because we develop projects for them, we develop HOAs for them, we develop activity-based understanding for them, and we develop attitude, a very positive attitude in student for communication, for their behavior, for their leadership, we call it, for their productiveness, for their creativity, so that they can come ahead of their books and can do the activities by themselves and understand. Formative feedback as a learning engine. Continuous improvement. Timely feedback guides learner to revise and reflect, supporting growth before final evaluation. So giving timely feedback and continuous feedback and pinching up how a student is working, student needs to focus more. Then this kind of feedback makes a student have an evaluation over where the reports are going, which gives guidance, which gives the understanding of where could be worked, and then move ahead with the final evaluation. Then, as I have already talked upon this thing, it gives a personal pacing for different learners. We can relate that when a teacher enters in a class, we must see that very different kind of learners are a part of our classroom. So when I am delivering a chapter, there is no mandation that all of the students are understanding to what I am saying. because the pace I am using is not understandable enough to everybody out. But competency-based education focuses on different kind of learners sitting in the class, which they will be developing for the skills. Student progress at their individual rates based on their readiness. This approach allows faster advancement or additional time as needed without losing momentum. From different paces of learners, from different understandability of learners, we must address that class could be met to an effective level, could be met to a very understandable level. And this is what our agenda. Flexible pathways of mastery. Competency-based systems provides multiple routes to achieve the same learning goal. They support varied learning experiences and personalized path while maintaining a high standards. As I have said, that competency-based learning focuses on different learners sitting in your class. It also focuses on different paths to be able to follow for reaching the same goal. For reaching the same goal. So competency-based system provides you different path for making the student reach on the same goal. They give you the idea of how the project could be implemented in the class. They give you the idea of how activities could be taken in the class. They give you the idea of engaging the students in class so that our common goal of delivering the concept could be maintained. They support varied learning experiences and personalized pathway while maintaining the higher standards as well. Real-world learning and authentic task. As we have discussed, we actually focus on real-life applications and case study questions and real-life problems and problem-solving skills. We are occupying a skill set that student must be having real-life skills more than what is given in the concepts. So connecting schoolwork to real-life applications is what is our agenda. Connecting schoolwork to real-life applications and their problems and real-life assessment and skill questions to deepen understanding through meaningful application. Portfolios as a record of code. Competency-based education also delivers us the right for a continuous feedback of the student that gets on delivered through the teacher side, which gives us a progress idea how a student is working. Portfolios document samples of work, reflections, and revisions to provide a comprehensive view of learning growth to an individual beyond a single assessment. So it's not like that one examination has happened and now it's done with it. It offers the continuous growth in the life of a student to understand where the student can work more to have forward the classes. Competency maps and learning progression. Stages of mastery. Learning is structured into stages that clarify what students need to learn next. So competency-based education delivers a very comprehensive map of what learning has to become after what. It gives a mapped idea how teacher has to actually work in a class to have the best implementation of the concepts. It is into very divided into stages so that there will be a very clarity into the class and student will be knowing that this lesson will be coming after the specific lesson. Allots map the curriculum to be covered throughout the session, which procures structured and designed learning. Data that helps learning, not just reporting. Actionable insights. As we have discussed, that there will be continuous reports of the same, how the student is working in the class. There will be actionable insight by communicating to the parents, by communicating to the people that the student could be worked on these things. Learning data provides real-time feedback to support immediate student growth and tailored instruction. This helps teacher make smarter decisions and intervene effectively when needed. Technology in support of mastery. When we are delivering the concept of mastery, and how is technology supporting it? Digital tools help track progress, personalize practice, and give learners more control over their learning journey. Technology strengthens human teaching rather than replacing it. So with the effect of technology, we are providing a point to the student that we are calling mastery. With the tools like personalizing their practice, with the tools like videos to them, with the tools like digital content, we are helping them to hover over what actually concepts work like. So technology is strengthening our teaching here, strengthening our understanding here, strengthening our understandability of student in the education system. The importance of equity and access, inclusive learning environment. A future-ready learning model must support all the students by ensuring access, support, flexibility, and inclusive design to promote success for every learner. So competency-based education gives individual access, support, right, flexibility, and inclusive design so that success could be met for every individual sitting in the class from the different pieces of learning. Supporting learners who need more time. It also ensures that if I have different pace of learners in my class, so personal attention could be given to some, and the teacher could definitely be transparently understand which is the student lacking upon which skill set of habit, and then those skill sets could be worked to that individual. So it gives quality learning in the class rather than quantity learning. Either not the quantity is achieved, but quality is a mandatory thing that comes in our class. Competency-based learning keeps high standards while offering flexible pathways. Rigor and support work together, not against each other. So it also offers a very flexible environment in the class with, in support of technology, in support of working on the skill sets, we can achieve our highest effective goals. Raising expectations without raising barriers, balancing rigor and support. So this is what I multiple times say in my training sessions as well, that for every educator, there must be very thin line between flexibility and strictness. Rigor is what we are calling the strictness, and support is what we are calling the flexibility. There should be an equal level of rigor and support in your class, which should balance out the learning of individual. It should never be working on the against of learning or against of creativity of the student. So competency-based system allows learner to revisit content again and again, practice them more, and achieve targeted help without stigma. Extra time is framed as a part of quality learning, not the sign of failure. So there is a need for us to understand that if a student is wanting the specific session, the specific content multiple times, then student is not on the sign of failure, is not lacking out on that same thing, but wanting to have the quality understanding of that same concept. So competency-based education also forces us to understand that there is a very thin line between our rigorness in the classrooms and between our lessons of what we are delivering. What competency-based classrooms looks like? Active and varied learning. Students engage in collaborative reflection and peer work, promoting mastery and student agency through diverse activities and regular feedbacks. As I have said that in collaboration, when students work, when they work on specific activity together, the student is knowing that one person will be presenting it, one person will be making the model, one person will be defining the labels. So they work in collaboration, they work in peer work that demonstrates and achieves effective mastery for that specific concept, and through the diverse activities they can have this specific mastery. Building competence, how schools can begin the shift: by building the competencies with curriculum design, by redesigning the curriculum to ensure that each unit develops meaningful skills through coherent and aligned learning experiences. Changing to competency model, build a shared community vision, help parents and staff understand that flexible pacing doesn't mean that it is lack of rigor. It means holding learning constant and letting time be variable. By define clear, transparent competencies, clear measurable learning goals for each level, grade and subject. Develop continuum rubrics, create multi-level rubrics. For example, beginning, developing, proficient, advanced, that describes explicit performance outcomes rather than letter grades. Redesign assessments and grading policies. Traditional A to F grading systems often blend academic performances with behavior like attendance or effort. Competency-based models isolate academic mastery, allow retakes and revision, track soft skills such as time management, collaboration, and participation. So how is this model working? Firstly, we need to build a community for understanding that how it is working, how it is flexibly taking the individuals and flexibly gathering them onto specific skill sets, which also allows them to retakes, to have multiple revisions, to have the analysis over their soft skills. as the third pointer says that it allows retakes in individual, and we have already discussed that if the individual is wanting to analyze that information again and again, it delivers the quality understanding in the student rather than calling it a failure. Competency based education focuses on that student can achieve the best mastery through retakes, through multiple revision, through tracking their soft skills, through feedbacks, through understanding where the growth is working, to understanding that how teacher is working in the class, to understanding the skill sets, to understanding what is happening in the real life, so which becomes very important. Our second pointer says that it defines clear and transparent competencies, such as if we all know that our grading system is still focusing on ABCD, here we focuses on beginning, developing, proficient, and advanced. So if a student is still learning, then we call it beginning, then developing, then proficient, and advanced. So we don't evaluate the student onto the basis of whether he knows this or not, but we evaluate them onto the process he's working on. If he is still learning, then it is beginning. Then if he is little proficient, then it is developing. When he is very proficient in the same, then we give the criteria proficient. And then when he has achieved some skill sets, some habits, the learnings, then it is the advanced evaluation. What success looks like for a student? It builds stronger confidence, it brings deeper understanding, and it brings transferable skills. Students develop greater assurance in their abilities through competency-based learning. This confidence supports ongoing academic and personal growth. When we'll be able to give them the feedback positively throughout the year, when we'll be able to give them the evaluations of what they are learning, what they have to work on, they build a very positive confidence into them that focuses on their academic growth as well. It brings deeper understanding. Learners attain a more thorough grasp of subject, enabling meaningful application of knowledge. This depth fosters critical thinking and problem-solving skills in a student. Transferable skills, right? Students acquire skills that apply across disciplines and real-world context. These skills enhance readiness of future learning and career challenges. When they exactly know that these are the skill sets that I need to work on, these are the skill sets my teacher is working on me, they can also build successful future ready careers, and they can collaborate and fight with their career challenges as well. What success looks like for teachers: clearer goals, better evidence, meaningful interactions, and responsive and rewarding classes. Teachers have well-defined objectives that guide their instruction and assessment methods effectively. Competency-based model explains a teacher that in what way the lesson has to be delivered. So it is well-defined objectives. It guides teachers the instructions of how classes should be meant and the assessment methods very effectively, so that classes could be best engaged and could be best met to their effective point. It gives teachers better evidence, access to meaningful data that accurately reflects student learning, and progress supports informed teaching decisions. When the effectiveness is met in class, then there is the better evidence that comes along with the student's growth, that becomes very visible and clear to teacher by distributing the lessons. Meaningful interactions, it enhances engagement with students, creates more supportive and responsive learning environment. In the collaboration of teacher, in the collaboration of student, and the collaboration of model, there comes out a very meaningful interaction between the teacher and student, which comes out as enhanced engagement, and which comes out as students' creativity, which comes out as support and responsive positive learning environment. Then comes to responsive and rewarding. Teacher becomes more impactful and fulfilling as educators, adapt and see tangible results from the efforts. When teachers is actually ought to work on specific skill sets, when teachers knows what where is the point where my student is lacking, teacher can solve the tangible results and can actually give the clearer feedback to the student and work on their growth. What success looks like for school: consistent implementation. When school established this kind of model, and the teachers in support of it and students can support of it implement it, then it comes out as very uniform practice that supports grades and classrooms. Student-centered approach. Learning experiences are tailored to meet individual student needs and actively involve learners in the process. responsive systems. Schools adapt quickly to student feedback and data to provide learning outcomes and experience. Clear communication, it shares very transparent goal, and it shares very fulfilling expectations to parents as well. It becomes very easy to communicate to parents as well. It becomes very clearer of what's going in the class, of how teaching is working on, of how education is working on, of how the theme of school is working. So it delivers a very clearer idea of how the education and implementation is working of the syllabus. So there is a clear communication, transparent goals, expectations, and progress of student, families, and staff as well. Stronger alignment, curriculum, assessment, and instruction are coordinated to support competency development at all levels. A very stronger alignment to this specific model delivers the curriculum, delivers the assessment, and delivers the instructions, which coordinates vice versa within themselves to develop a very effective classroom, to develop a very highly competency achieving skill set. Common challenges which comes in transaction, resistance to change. Many educators and institutions hesitate to adopt this model because they find it doing effort, one second. This resistance can slow down implementation and requires targeted support, which actually requires to focus on why it is important, to focus on how it is working, to focus on the skills that student require in future generation. By redefining assessment, shifting to competency-based models demands redesigning the assessments to accurately measure skills. This can be a complex and resource-intensive process that they can find. Professional learning for educators. Educator development focus. Teacher development in assessment literacy, coaching strategies, feedback practices, and data uses essential for competency-based learning. Educator growth is central to promoting student growth. So I feel it also develops the growth in the mentor as well, in educator as well. When educator will be having very clearer goals in front of her or in front of him, that these are the competency I need to work on, these are the skills I will be working on, these will be the learning objectives I'll have to take in my class, and they'll be very clear to giving them regular feedbacks. She'll be very clear to have mapped idea of how my courses will be flowing, in what date I will be starting the specific chapter, in what date my student will be able to understand it. That develops a core growth in the educator as well, which reflects directly the central growth of the student. So educator growth is central to promoting student growth. When educator is developing, growing, then definitely it reflects to student growth as well. It reflects to the activeness of the class. If teacher is dull and student is dull, then there will be no effectiveness met. But if teacher will be that active, teacher will be that focused in the class, teacher will be knowing the active habits of taking the class, then it directly focuses on the growth of the student who are attending that specific class. Leadership for competency-based future. School leaders must create a clear vision, ensure alignment, and foster supportive conditions for successful transaction to competency-based education. So while we are taking ahead competency-based education with us, we must be patient enough, we must be communicable enough, we must be commitment enough for this specific model, and that definitely achieves a lasting system change in the education system. A new relationship with families and communities. The model also offers a partnership and transparency with the families, with the communities. Competency-based learning thrives when families understand the goals, evidence of mastery, and available support for learners. This approach builds trust beyond the classroom. That there will be a very transparent curriculum delivery within the class, so that family will be aligned, communities will be aligned, and there will be a trust that is built up in the very thin thread of teachers, student, and management. The future is learner-centered, moving toward education that is personal, equitable, flexible, and meaningful for all the learners. Key takeaways for competency-based shift. What are our core promises that we coherent with taking competency-based education in our learning? It offers mastery over time. It offers clarity over expectations, and it offers authentic assessment, personalized pacing, and stronger learner ownership from the foundation of this education model. These elements together create a very clear, effective, and learning experience in our classes. Okay, by this we will end this webinar today. I hope it was good webinar. There is one more news and very progressive news for us, that there is a WhatsApp channel that you people can join. I'll drop this link in chat section. Just a second. Anybody can join this WhatsApp channel, which can offer the updates, which can offer what's going on in the education system, which can offer our latest product updates and webinar updates in the same.